A Republican Senate hopeful just defied orders from Donald Trump, setting off yet another civil war in MAGA world. In case seeing Pete Hegseth and Marco Rubio hitting each other with their purses wasn't enough, the splintering of MAGA continues, and this time, it could have dire ramifications for Republicans in the Senate. If you need a dose of schadenfreude today, stay tuned. You're going to love this. This is The David Reddish Show. Welcome to the show, my beautiful Occupy Democrats viewers. I'm David Reddish. And before we dive into this mess, well, first, I hope you all have your shots and some chest waders. It gets slimy. Second, please subscribe to our channel now to stay up to date. We're partying on the show as soon as we hit 500,000 subscribers, and we get closer every day. Besides, you'll stay up to date on stories like these. So let's get to it. As you probably know, earlier this week, several states held primary elections ahead of this year's midterm elections in the fall. One of the closest watch races, that of a Texas Senate seat. On the Democratic side, James Tallarico eked out a win over our beloved Jasmine Crockett and is hitting the campaign trail hard as the party unites behind him. On the Republican side, well, it's a bit of a different story. Put those chest waders on now, because this is a mess. Take a look.
Chaos at the polls across Texas in a primary that could help determine control of the U.S. Senate. Hundreds of voters were turned away at polling stations because of a new rule requiring them to cast ballots at their assigned precinct. Confusion and long lines prompted a judge to extend polling hours. But Attorney General Ken Paxton, who's running in the Republican Senate primary, got the Texas Supreme Court to overturn that order and separate any votes cast after 7 p.m. Paxton will now face incumbent and longtime Senator John Cornyn in a runoff election in May because neither candidate got more than 50% of the vote. Some Republican leaders claim a victory by Paxton, a MAGA supporter who's faced multiple scandals, could make the seat vulnerable to a Democratic win in November.
I refuse to allow a flawed, self-centered, and shameless candidate like Ken Paxton risk everything we've worked so hard to build over these many years.
Cornyn and his supporters reportedly spent a record $71 million on advertising.
After all the personal attacks, which there were many, and after all the lies, you listened to what John Cornyn was selling, and you weren't buying it.
So, Trump has suddenly decided he needs to get into this pit of filth too. Go figure. The man never passes up an opportunity to dumpster dive. And it gets worse, so stick around. As that report mentioned, longtime Senator John Cornyn has some real problems with the MAGA cult, such as it is, while Texas voters have a lot of problems with Ken Paxton. Remember, this is the Attorney General that was impeached by his fellow Republicans in Texas, of all places. Not the best candidate to run. And with the war in Iran and skyrocketing prices sending Trump's approval into the septic tank, again, see our other videos for more, with Trump in political trouble, an endorsement might actually backfire on the Texas Senate race. For that reason, Ken Paxton is now attacking Donald Trump. Appearing on the Benny Johnson Show, a podcast from a white bread Republican tick, I don't recommend it, Paxton had this to say about the future of the runoff election.
Look, I think that this people of Texas deserve a choice. We've had John Cornyn in office for over 4 decades. I was in college, and I'm 63. He's been in office since I was in college. He's been representing us in the Senate, but he's not done it well. And when I've asked Texans, every stop, whether it's one person or 5,000 people, I've asked this question: can you name one good accomplishment of John Cornyn in the last, let's go back 40 plus years? And no one's ever given me an answer. Even his supporters cannot name one good accomplishment. We have many bad ones, including opposing President Trump on many of the issues like the border and amnesty and even his own election. So no, I'm going to give people in Texas a choice. The people in Washington can have their own opinion. The president can have his own opinion. But I've been in this race for almost a year, and we're going to win this race in the runoff.
The indication that President Trump might endorse you. I mean, do you think that have you been in communications with the president?
Well, I know that John Cornyn has suggested that Susie Wiles, as chief of staff, is behind this. I don't know what's true or not true. That we just had the election a day ago, and I'm out, pushing for my support because, my opponent just got done spending close to $100 million and I spent $5 million, and I was within a point. So my goal is to step that up, because I really believe if I can get my message out about me and him, the truth, not his fake messages that he ran for the $100 million, but the truth, will make up that 1 point relatively easily, along with Wesley Hunt's votes moving my way.
Well, I hope you have popcorn on hand, people, because this show has just gotten started. Consider something for a moment. If Trump endorses Ken Paxton, that will create division within the Republican Party, since longtime party bigwigs are backing Cornyn, who, mind you, does have a better shot at winning. If Trump endorses Cornyn, Paxton then stays in the race, and out of necessity, will have to attack Trump and Cornyn, all of which is good news for James Tallarico and the Democrats, since the Republicans are attacking each other, and Tallarico can concentrate on his message to Texans and actually winning. And obviously, I hope Tallarico does win and helps flip the Senate. And while I don't want to get ahead of myself here, I want you all to think about something. Tallarico has incredible political skill and broad appeal. I wouldn't be surprised to see him seek a higher office around 2028, much like another inspiring first-term senator did around 2008. And in case you don't remember, he's the one on the left. So, President Melanoma, if you're watching, there's a storm coming. I hope you're more prepared for that than you were for war with Iran. And in the meantime, beautiful viewers, pop that popcorn. This show is just beginning. I'm David Reddish.